We're going to have a great show. I'm excited for you guys. I'm excited for you to meet Felipe. He is, wait, hold on. Let me read this. I made this note for me. Felipe Capella. He's the CEO of Loadsmart, and I made a bunch of notes for him. So I hope he's really nervous right now. He's in the boiler room, the virtual boiler room. He's probably sweating it. He's like, oh no, what's she gonna ask me? Because I've got a whole list for him. But first, I have two things for you guys. If you haven't gotten your ticket to FreightWaves' conference, which is in Chattanooga, it's just in a couple weeks. Hurry up. Everyone is going to be there. Everyone. So you're going to feel really bad inside if you're not there. I see the Boiler Room Boys got this up here. It says November 1st to 3rd. I don't know what day it is. I just follow my calendar and go. But it would be a great time, and you'll be able to have some really great networking. And also they do like this tech, these startup companies will do pitches, and it's really interesting to see what people are doing in the industry that's new and edgy. Plus, the most important reason you should go is the Boiler Room Boys are going to be there. Yes, that's right. Our production team, they will be there live. You can pick on them. You can buy them drinks, make them happy. So all that good stuff. So you guys can't hear them, but they chatter in my ear and they think they're funny. Well, apparently they are, because I just laughed at it. But you guys, hurry up and get your tickets. It's going to be a great event. It's also going to have a high ROI because there's great networking. The other thing I'd like to show you, which darn it, I forgot to tell the Boiler Room Boys that I wanted to show you guys, but you guys can check out my website, which is carriersure.com. We released a new dashboard. Oh, Cassandra, why don't we give a shit about your dashboard? Because you could take all your carriers and upload them into our software, and we'll spit out a report so you can see what percentage of those carriers are A, B, C's, D's, and F's. And you can start getting rid of those F's. The F carriers are the ones that are most susceptible to the double brokering, the cargo claims, the drop loads. Once you start phasing them out, you will have less problems. Carriersure.com, you get a first month for free, and check it out at that website. So let's get started. Let's bring Felipe on. I'm very excited to have him on. And welcome to the party. Thank you. We finally got you on, I see. We got you on video. It looks good. We got you on audio. How are you?
Good. Nice to meet you, Cassandra. I'm finally here. I'm super nervous because I've heard that this is usually a very tough interview. So I have been preparing for days, sleepless nights.
Guys, he's lying.
So I hope you're nice with me.
And did you tell, what did Ricardo say when you told Ricardo? Were you like, oh, you want to come on with me? Because I didn't invite Ricardo. I think we should make him a separate interview, and we'll make that one the really hard interview.
There you go. I think that's great. I think you go soft on me and you go hard on Ricardo. That's a good deal. I'll take that.
And then you feed me the questions as well. That way. Don't tell him. I hope he doesn't watch this, actually.
Absolutely. I will tell him. I'll tell you his dirty secrets so you can exploit that.
Yes. You hear that? That's going to be a great episode. All right. So I made a list for you because everybody knows Loadsmart. We don't know a lot of details, which is why you're going to come on here and you're going to get us the insight into Loadsmart. I'm very excited because you guys have been growing fast, you're trendy, but there's a bigger reason I know about you guys. I made a list. You have hired some of my favorite people. The first one on the very top of the list is Jim Nicholson. I love Jim Nicholson. So anybody who doesn't know Jim Nicholson, go on LinkedIn and connect with him and be friends with him. He's a really smart, amazing freight guy. Same for Ben Buchanan. He's back in the Global Trends days with me. The other Global Trends person is Joel Rosenblatt. We all started years and years and years ago. Smart guys. And then the famous Milburn Miranda. Milburn is the one who invented partials, you guys. So long time ago, and he's back from my Echo days. So you have hired all these rock stars. There's lots of rock stars. I'm connected to lots of people at your company. I like your hiring style, and I like all of these people you've got. So tell me, we're going to go down the journey of Felipe. So tell me what you were doing before you got into freight.
Well, I think we have some commonalities there, Cassandra. So in my previous life, I was a lawyer back in Brazil, actually. So I practiced law for 6 or 7 years in Brazil. Then I moved to Madrid for a master's degree in law. Then I moved to the U.S. for another master's degree. Then I joined a law firm in New York City, worked there for a couple of years in mergers and acquisitions. Then I moved to Washington, D.C., worked there for the Inter-American Development Bank, focused on infrastructure projects across Latin America with a sovereign guaranteed debt. Then after this kind of 11 years of corporate mumbo jumbo, I decided to take a break and create something from scratch with a focus on technology in an industry that needs this technology push. And so together with Ricardo, we started Loadsmart back in 2014.
That is so cool. That's such a cool journey. Okay, first question. Where was your favorite place that you lived? Because you traveled. Actually, I've got a little globe behind me, but you traveled everywhere.
Well, I think highlights are probably my hometown city. It's called Florianopolis in the south of Brazil. You guys need to go there. Cassandra, you need to go there. It's an island in Brazil. You cannot go wrong.
I would like that.
Madrid is a great place, and of course New York City. But now my home is Chicago. I moved to Chicago last year, and people are super nice. It is
Tell me what you think about Chicago. Like when you got to Chicago, actually. Were you like, I can handle it? I was in New York because that's what I told myself when I moved to Chicago for Echo. I was like, I'm a New Yorker. I can handle it. And I got there and I was like, holy shit, this is insanely cold. Like, yeah. Is that what you said, or are you a better person than me?
Well, I think from a Brazilian perspective, it is kind of cold. I have to say that, right? But on the other hand, I think there are three major points about Chicago. First, the summers are amazing, right? Second, the people are super nice, at least compared to New York City, which some people say it is a low bar. And third, there's a lot of logistics and transportation talent, right? And the third reason was really the reason why I moved to Chicago and the headquarters moved to Chicago.
It's interesting you say that because I was just talking to this famous, you know him, Kevin Nolan. He's the godfather of the industry. And I was just talking to him about next steps for my company since, we're a startup and I just found product market fit. And now it's time to hire people and figure out where we're going to be. And Kevin was like, you either need to be in Chicago or Atlanta. Sorry, he didn't say Chattanooga, Boiler Room Boys, but it's not far. It's a quick drive. But he said those two, and he was like, either one, but that is the freight capital of the world. And I even asked him, I'm like, not New York City? Because I'm from New York City. I'd love to go back. And he's like, no, sorry, not going to happen. So it was interesting to get that perspective. But you're right. Chicago is where most people are located.
Absolutely. And where are you living right now?
Now I'm in Atlanta. I can't do the cold. Felipe, I can't do the cold. It's just too much for me.
I understand you. Let's just say I understand.
So then, okay, so you guys, how do you know Ricardo?
So I know Ricardo from back in the days in New York. Also, Ricardo worked in Brazil for a couple of years. He has a 13-year journey at Goldman Sachs. So we met actually in New York. My firm was providing services to Goldman Sachs. And we met through common friends back in 2011, I guess.
But where's he from? Is he from Brazil?
He's American Colombian. That's his background. But he speaks a pretty decent Portuguese, I will tell you.
Yeah, he does. You paused a few times. So I was like, I felt like you were going to say something. You were going to pick on him. It's okay if you want to pick on Ricardo. He's not here. So you can pick on all you want. I just want you to know that.
Okay. So that's what I'm actually saying.
Uh-oh.
No, he's not.
You look like you're looking at him. Is he there? Is he watching?
No, he's not. He's probably not. He's probably working or kite surfing. I don't know.
Kite surfing? I've never even heard. What the hell is kite surfing?
Well, kite surfing is what all the cool kids do nowadays. So as I'm not a cool kid, I don't do it, but they kind of surf with a kind of a parachute or a kite. So it's apparently it's pretty cool.
And he can do that in New York City? Or on the
No, I
Hudson?
think usually
Ew.
no. Well, I think you can do that in Long Island, I think. But he usually travels to other
Oh, that makes
places like
sense.
northeast of Brazil, Nicaragua. I think you can do that in Miami as well.
Very nice. Nicaragua. Hmm. Okay. I was just thinking about where that would be. He would do that. That's interesting. Okay, so Loadsmart. I brought you on here not to talk about poor Ricardo and pick on him. That's a lie. I totally brought you on here for that. But we also got to talk about Loadsmart. So, first of all, what did you think when, or whose idea was it to go into the transportation industry and then start the product and then start the business and grow it?
Ricardo, 100%. So I was actually starting a different company with a different industry in mind, and then I was discussing with Ricardo and realized he had a much better idea with transportation, and so I joined his idea, and I gave him 100% of credit on that.
Oh, very nice. And so, what did you think when you started first getting engaged in transportation? And you're like, "Oh my God, this is wild!" Like, what did you think of our industry and what was going on? Because I mean, you came from M&A world. Like, it was probably most of the stuff that you're doing, big corporate law, really smart people shit. I'm not saying you're not doing smart people shit now, but it's very, very different from where you came from. And now you're like, here you go into the transportation industry, cowboy land.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a huge learning curve for me, and I'm still learning. Right, we have been doing this for 8 years. So whenever I hire Jim Nicholson or Ben Buchanan or Milburn Miranda, all these guys that you mentioned, I learn a lot with these guys day in day out, and I'm still learning. So at the beginning, it was an eye opening moment to see how the industry works. Right, how the flows are different, the lack of technology adoption, the huge fragmentation, especially on the carrier on the brokerage side as well. And I remember in the first year, we had to buy a fax machine because a lot of carriers were just only accepting to move a load if they were receiving the tender through a fax. And I was like, wow, this is really interesting.
You're
But again,
going
it was
backwards.
yeah, it was an interesting phase, and I'm glad that I don't think we use fax machines anymore. So I think the the industry has definitely
I
evolved
still
in
think
this
they do
space.
though. We figured it out like electronically. I think we can send them things, but their carriers are still using fax machines. Because I just asked that question the other day for my product. I'm like, "Are we still doing that?" And people were like, "Yeah, we're still doing
Wow,
that." Like that's
wow.
crazy. For those of you, excuse me, for those of you who are just joining us, we are talking to Felipe from Loadsmart. Loadsmart is this really sexy brokerage out of Chicago. It's growing very fast. Has some of my favorite people working there. You guys can check them out. Connect with Felipe on LinkedIn. All right, so let's talk about your product. You said you started tech first, and Ricardo is more on the tech side. Is that correct?
Yeah, Ricardo, he's an engineer from Georgia Tech, so he had some tech angle. But the reality is that both of us came from out of industry, right? So he had the more like
Mhm.
financial slash engineering background, and I tried to help the way I could at the beginning. Tried to learn very fast, and we are a tech first company, right? We still have around 35-ish% of our overall personnel, data scientists and software engineers and product managers. And that's not a
Mhm.
new thing for us. Since the beginning, at least 40 to 50% of our personnel has always been tech. So we have been doing this again for 8 years. So you can imagine the amount of effort and money at the end of the day that we put into software development and technology in this past 8 years.
Yeah.
Uh, and it has been a very interesting journey that we realized that the right mix is truly not pure technology and not pure analog brokerage, but a mix of them, right? So mixing up
Oh, I love
all
that.
these logistics specialists that you just mentioned with the technology in a very balanced way.
I love that. And so when you say technology, do you mean like you guys built your own TMS? You have like what type of technology is really boosting and driving your team?
Yeah,
in their
I would
operations?
separate Loadsmart in kind of two angles, right? So we started as a digital freight brokerage, really moving loads, right? And what do we mean by digital freight brokerage? Well, we use a lot of technology to try to provide more value to shippers and carriers compared to the industry standard, at least, right? So we were the first ones to launch full truckload instant pricing, instant booking back in 2015. And I remember the incumbents back then mentioned that all these guys are crazy, they're going to go bankrupt because your broker is not supposed to take the risk of the transaction, right? A broker should always have a carrier or a truck behind them, or at least have high certainty of pricing. So how can you provide pricing via algorithms? And we disagreed, and we launched our instant price, instant booking solution back in 2015, way before other so-called digital brokers even existed. Then in 2016, we had the first industry instant quote API integration with TMSs. So our API was done, and actually it was very funny because it was a tough period between 2016 and 2018 because we're calling all the TMSs and we're saying like, hey, we have this instant pricing for spot truckload, and
They don't
it's
know what
amazing
API
because
is.
well, it's worse than that. The TMS is back then and said, like, you know what, this sounds great because then the shipper does not have to leave our TMS to procure a spot capacity. You just see the prices popping up. It's amazing. But most of our customers, or all of our customers, are on an on-premise version. Right? We don't even have a cloud-based version of our TMS. So it means that the software is installed in a hardware somewhere in the office of the shipper, right? Really old school. And then from
Oh,
16 to
wow.
18, we're trying to scramble. It's like, hey, we have all this technology ready to integrate, but we have nothing to integrate with, right? And things change in 2018, and all the TMSs started to create their own cloud-based version. I'm talking about Oracle OTM, right? And then Mercury Gate, and finally Manhattan Associates, and all these guys. So from 2018 to 2022, all these TMSs created a cloud-based version, and then we started to see this Fortune 100 or Fortune 1000 companies finally migrating from on-premise TMSs to cloud-based TMSs, allowing us to integrate and then receive all these requests of loads that they need to move via API. We price automatically each one of them in 200 milliseconds, and we send back prices back to them. So we are really the leading company in this technology in the US. And as more and more shippers migrate to the cloud, more and more shippers integrate with us, and we have this visibility into the spot full truckload market. I remember in 2018, we were seeing maybe 20, 30, $40 million of freight opportunity via API. TMS integrations. A year later, it was $100 million, and 400 and a billion. And at the peak of the spot market last year, we got to see $3 billion of freight per quarter, right? So, and I think this is only
Wow.
going to increase. My projection is that in a few years, all the spot transactions in the US for full truckload will happen only via API integration. So we're going to completely move
Oh, that'd
away,
be
at least
amazing.
on Fortune, at least on Fortune 1000 companies. We're going to complete move away
Yeah.
from email and phone calls for spot execution.
That would be amazing. I know that a lot of shippers, at least like the mid-size shippers to the smaller shippers, depends. I'm not saying all of them. They are the transportation department, and anything having to do with transportation is often the last department to get any type of funding for technology. And it would be wonderful. I hope they see the value of that, of what you're offering, and see the ROI on it. I mean, you said so yourself, it's like constant back and forth emails and phone calls and ridiculousness with this tendering of shipments when it could all be done quickly and easily and tracked through an integration with an API. Like, that would be
So,
amazing.
Cassandra, this is a good segue, right? I was mentioning like one of our angles is digital freight brokerage, remove loads on behalf of our customers. The second angle about Loadsmart are software solutions, right? Again, we have had a really high number of engineers and data scientists across this many years, and then we realized a few years ago, you know what? Why don't we expose all the software that we have built internally to shippers and carriers and warehouses, right? So on the software side, we do have a platform called Shipper Guide, which is a platform that we offer small and mid-sized customers that they can plan, procure, and execute freight. So spot and contract, they can run
Oh, that's so smart.
mini bids, 12-month long RFPs in a very easy to use, user friendly way, and at a very cheap, what I would say, price. On the carrier side, we have a trucking operating system in which small and medium-sized carriers can really move to the cloud all the management of the company, right? Can manage their drivers, the planning of their loads. It's integrated with accounting tools like QuickBooks. With you can file your IFTA
That's
tax
smart.
filings directly. Yeah, that's on the carrier side. And in the middle, you have
I love
warehouses
that.
or facilities, right? We have probably the largest
Which are often
standalone.
left out. I would like to remind everybody, warehouses and the facilities are like essential to everything. They're often left out. I love hearing that you guys have a solution for them. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry, no, yeah, we have probably the largest standalone dock appointment solution in the whole industry. We're running at around 10 million appointments a year. Our software is used by more than 3,000 warehouses. That means that the shipper now knows every incoming carrier, right, at what time that specific dock appointment is set up for. They can optimize all the docks that they have. They eliminate all the potential queues when all trucks decide to arrive at the same time, right? So it gives also a lot of visibility to the transportation department on how carriers are doing, because it's really best in class data when you know exactly what the
Yeah.
appointment time is, and you know surely if the carrier has arrived before, on time, after time, instead of trying to rely on kind of GPS pings and trying to do geofences. Hey, you operate the warehouse, so it's pretty easy to know with if you have a dock scheduling solution if your carrier is getting there on time or not. But anyways, we have this package of software solutions that we offer shippers, carriers, and warehouses that helps us a lot, kind of add value to the whole industry, and really trying to push this towards this digitization of the whole industry, which is already happening slowly but surely.
The one thing that I was thinking about, and just wanted to check how much time we have left because I have a lot of questions, but I was really loud and passionate about this during when COVID was going on. It was 2020. Things were wild. I haven't spoken about it much since because I kind of gave up. But do you have a solution for BOLs and PODs and having those electronically managed versus, our truck drivers showing up? And I know it's hard to manage, and I know because shippers don't want to do it, and truck drivers still like their paper BOL and their POD and da 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 da. Is that something you guys are working on? If you're not, sorry to illuminate a gap there. But
No,
I hate that we still have all that shit in paper. Like, it drives me nuts.
This is definitely in our roadmap, especially again because as we have a software for shippers, right? And shippers would like to see all these documents in an online platform. We have the software for carriers, right? They also would like to operate in a digital way, and we have the warehousing piece, right? Whenever drivers get to the warehouse, we would try to facilitate the checking process, trying to eliminate this paperwork. So it's definitely in our roadmap. We're probably going to be launching that in the first semester of next year.
Oh, good. I love hearing that. And, that's great for cargo claims perspective too. The majority of the time, like when I worked for this carrier, well, every place that I've worked, I've managed the cargo claims groups, but I worked for a carrier who had a really big cargo claims group. And it drove us nuts every time we had to deal with waiting for the POD and the BOLs, and then we don't get the right copies, and then we're doing this and we're doing that. And now that I think about it, for brokers to get paid as well, they often need end carriers. So it just becomes, it's like the essential of the shipment, and we're still fucking around with paper. It drives me nuts. So I hope that works out well. Maybe when we have Ricardo on, we'll have Ricardo on next year. Maybe you guys will be closer and you can unveil the solution to these paper PODs and BOLs. This drives me up the wall. Okay, we have 1 minute left. Here's the one thing. I have like 20 questions for you, but I guess I'll narrow it down and make it my interests only, because it is my show, which is, how have you been doing being, you went from a long time being full-time lawyer to now being in a business role? I'm assuming you're in a business role. I shouldn't assume, but how have you been doing over the years, past 8 years, pulling away, and we've got 30 seconds, but pulling away from that legal position and being more in the business mindset, kind of letting those risks go that aren't as important?
Yeah, I think there's just a huge learning curve, right? That we have to hire very well. I think org design is at the end of the day what matters most probably when we're creating a new company, right? Who do you hire? What kind of profile they have? Where are you gonna put all these different people with different skill sets, right? And trying to complement the things that you're not really good at with things that people do much better than you, and trying to be humble, knowing that you have a limited set of skills, and how do you identify what you do really well, focus on that, and everything else you have to hire for.
That was a very smart answer. I love it. I don't know if because you're a lawyer, you knew how to wrap it up, but we started out talking about the people that you hire, and now we're wrapping it up with the people that you hire. I'm excited to continue to watch your journey. I'm very grateful you came on, and Ricardo, you're up next, so we are ready for you.
There you go. Let me know when he's
Have
gonna
a
be
great
there, because
Friday.
again, I'll feed all the dirty secrets before he comes to the show.
Yes. Oh, yes. We'll make it very difficult for him.
This is efficiency in action. It comes